Right, so Apple, man, it's finally happened. You finally got your wish. You finally got your wish in it.
Listen,
See
I
what
don't, I
happens with
don't know
you,
what you're.
yeah. The power of the tongue is like it says, it's powerful, man. Because sometimes when you speak things into fruition, like it happens, bro. Like
This is
Jamal
shameless
already
from you.
warned me about
Shameless.
this.
This is shameless from you. Listen, I don't wish ill on anybody. Least of all, someone as good as Billy. So, listen,
Nah, of
and,
course
and
not.
of course, listen, I know exactly what you want to talk about. Um, yeah, look, listen, it's a big shock, I think, to everyone that's been involved with Baiteze and has been watching them. I think reading the comments under their latest YouTube video, I think everybody is very grateful. And listen, I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm surprised because
But how surprised are you really? Because like we've discussed, them a lot over this past, well, from doing
yeah,
this anyway. So, and
yeah,
obviously they've got high expectations as always as a big Sunday League club. So when you're not seeing the results going your way and you're starting seeing players saying that people are only turning up for merch, they're not turning up for the right reasons, like how surprised are you? Because when I was listening to Billy explain, I could reason with it, and I'm sure you could as well. Like he's a
yeah,
family
yeah,
man,
yeah.
he's got one child and all the rest of it. And having to go through all of that on a Saturday night, having to see what players he's got available, getting bare 11s on a Sunday, like he's not paid to do that as well. That's not his day job. Do you know what I mean? So you're
Mm.
you're going out of your way on a Sunday to run a Sunday league club that you're not playing with, you're not playing as part of, and you're not getting paid for, and it's taking up your time away from your family. So like, how surprised can you be when it comes to the stage where you've got to say, you know what, enough's enough, guys?
Well, it's one thing when he says enough, it is enough. What I probably would have expected is the hierarchy at the club to maybe back him a little bit more, try to recruit more players, and
Mm,
look, I went through something very similar at Takers, in that
mm,
we kind of elevated on the pitch, and then things naturally progressed off the pitch, and I called it from day one, which is there are no personalities that are bigger than the club, and
mm.
the club is the platform, and that's it. Like and look, listen, it's tough, man. It is difficult. I would have expected the club to make changes with the squad rather than with the manager. Um, but that's not what they've done. Maybe it was Billy's choice. I don't know. But if it was Billy's choice, then I definitely would understand it. I guess there are limits, and when there's a certain point that you get to, it's almost impossible for the manager to turn it around. The things that are going on in the dressing room. You need somebody
Mm.
that's going to come in and maybe change the dynamic a little bit. Um, but again, I can't help but feel like players are the ones that should be taking ownership and responsibility for
I
some of
was
the
gonna
results and
say,
some of the performances last year.
do you feel like some of the players let him down? Because, like he was explaining, like some of them, or
Clearly,
all of them, are his friends. Like his best man was Alex, the centre back.
yeah,
The person that was interviewing Bislow was like his friend since 13. These are his boys.
yeah,
These are his friends. And like sometimes, like that blurred line, it can get murky, right? Like you're trying to do a managerial role with your friends. Whereas, like, you need to be like, okay, guys, come on now, stop turning up at like 20 past 10 when the kickoff's at half 10, or stop
mm.
letting me down on a Saturday night when I'm giving up my time. I could be spending time with my son. Do you know what I mean? So do you feel like sometimes, like, yo, guys, I'm doing this off the strength of like I love this club, but you not
Yeah.
are giving me the respect back I deserve, innit?
I think look, I can't speak for the dynamic, the friendship dynamic that Billy had with the squad. But I can only speak on how it is for myself. I think there has to be a line. There can't be any blurred lines. There has to be a very clear, defined line between player and manager and friendship. And quite often, even if there are really nice people you, you'd want to be friends with, you kind of can't, and that's the sacrifice that you kind of have to make. Um, you know, Listen, it's tough. It is really tough, but unfortunately, you kind of reap what you sow. If you allow people to cross the line a few times just because it's going to benefit you or benefit the team, ultimately it doesn't benefit the team if you keep allowing people to break rules or to cross lines. I think I remember situations at Takers where I banned players. I think Monts and even Rondo and a few other players, even them, you turn up late, you're not training. You're not training. Turn up late to the game, you're not playing. You haven't got your kit, your tracksuit, you're not playing. You're not traveling. Forget it. And I think there just has to be a level of consistency and continuity with how you how you behave, and sort of with regards to what you expect from people as well. Um, Listen, it's really really tough. Baiteze will not be a better club without Billy. That's just my
Mm.
opinion. I don't think they'll be better without him. I would have liked to have seen them, back in by maybe giving some of the players some ultimatums. You can't put that all on him at all, because ultimately,
Of course
there's
not. Of course.
20, 30 of those guys there are part of that squad.
You know what I mean? Like he's
So,
done a very
listen,
good
it's
job
tough,
in.
and listen, Billy, outstanding job, outstanding. Baitese wouldn't be what it is without him. Let's be honest. So,
Yeah.
I'll just say, Billy, well done, congratulations, mate. You've had a fantastic stint there at Baitese, and there's going to be a number of clubs that will be wanting to bring you in. And listen, I wish you nothing but the best, mate.
Same here indeed. Like he's just to echo that, like he's done a fantastic job in the 3 years that he's been there. Like I've seen him at the start. I
Yeah,
think the first game he might have he played against was my Hatch Lane. That's where I seen him anyway. My introduction to him, sorry. But since then, obviously he's won the Sunday FA Cup. He beat SE Dons as well. Done a double over Grand Athletic, some big teams in the Sunday League community. So that just goes to show like how what level like he's taken them to. Like he's taken them from like let's be honest, they were good, don't get me wrong, and obviously had notoriety, but again, they beat some big teams and obviously that Sunday FA Cup run, you know, cannot be diminished at all. So again, fantastic. Like big shout out to Billy and what he's done for Beatties, and I'm sure he'll still be part of the team, but obviously not the manager going forward. So obviously they've got a new
mm,
person in charge. I'm hoping that it's someone who's close to them, but at the same time not within that same friend unit. Because again, it might end up going down the same route as like, okay, guys, are you going to take me
yeah,
as seriously? Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes that friendship slash managerial role can get blurred in it. Like by the sounds of it, has happened here.
yeah.
So
That over
again,
familiarity. Yeah, I think that over familiarity can
yeah,
really step into it. And I think, look, whoever the next person is going to be, I'm sure you've got your suspicions. I'm hearing it's already been done. It's a done deal. Um,
yeah,
Whoever it's going to be, I'm sure they're going to give it 100% and they're going to try their hardest. But ultimately, I think the deciding factor on the success of this new appointment will be down to the players again. And I
yeah,
think sometimes you do just need to revitalise the dressing room. I don't think they needed to change the manager in this moment. I think some of the players needed reality checking. Is my opinion. But ultimately, look, as well as that, I think a bigger part of the challenge that clubs like Beatties, SE Dons, those big Sunday sides, I think the big challenge that they have now is, you know, getting the players to commit to the Sunday when you know full well their commitments are on a Saturday. Um,
mm,
that's the really difficult part. And that will always be the issue. Do you have enough ability as a coach? Is your
mm,
way of playing solid enough where if you don't have your Saturday star boys, can you still compete and win games and beat teams on the Sunday? Um, I think that's the big challenge. Ultimately, that there is the big challenge. Can you take lesser players and still get the same results, or if not the same, or same results, even if the performances aren't as great? And I think ultimately what we've seen happen, uh, I think across the board with all of the big clubs, is that they generally you don't have the people in charge of the teams that are able to get those kinds of results when you don't have the players. We saw it with Rising Ballers, we've seen it with SE Dons, we're seeing it with Beatties. And that's not really Billy's fault, but it's more just to do with, do you really have the ability to improve the group when you don't have those star guys? I think it's quite rare to see someone with that kind of ability in Sunday football.
yeah. And again, just going across the season as well, because obviously, like we said, we've been covering this for a couple videos at least. Like it seems like it's down to commitment, and we get it. Like people have other commitments outside of football, families, jobs, etc. Stuff. But again, like if people are also giving up their time, just obviously show them the respect that you would want to be shown as well in terms of like letting them know ahead of time. Because often or not, we saw at the end of videos like, oh, you're only turning up because we're getting New Balance boots or whatever. Like, surely it's got to be more than that. You didn't start off playing Sunday League football just to get free boots, did you? You did this because you wanted to play with your friends. And bearing in mind, like these lot are in situations where they're in a high privilege situation where their moments are getting documented, because these moments, they're not going to be around forever. When you start off
Mm.
40, 50, 60, like they're not going to play forever. So they're getting all their time documented on video and getting these freebies. They need to remember, like, this is the reason why we started off in the first place. Like, do you get what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I think
that's my
no, do you know what? It's tough because I can understand it to a certain degree because you start off playing with your mates and then it starts to snowball unexpectedly. You know, you guys get really good and you get somewhat famous, and now all of a sudden it's turned into something that you kind of didn't really account for. Um, that's where you kind of need the leadership, you know, maybe from your manager or from just in general the hierarchy at the club, even in your captaincy, to you know to kind of keep people grounded and kind of hold people accountable when they need to be held accountable. Um, it's it's tough when people that are leading the club also get wrapped up in all of that, and they kind of forget themselves. Um, it's hard. See, like for instance, I didn't give any interviews or anything like that when while I was managing. I didn't do it.
mm,
You know, and I think sometimes it's hard for people to not get lost in their own hype. It's more kind of just like the culture of what it's become. It's hard to
mm,
not get sucked in by the culture. It's infectious, and that's what makes it so beautiful. Um,
yeah.
but you know, for the players, it's difficult because for a lot of these guys, some of them are working crappy jobs or whatever it is that they're doing, and this is their release, and it's hard to not get too excited. It's hard not to embrace it all the way that you kind of want to. It's hard not to do that. So I can't really blame the players for getting excited, but you do need somebody that's going to control them. You can't have the patients running the asylum. I think
Mm.
I've said that a
Yeah,
few times. So,
famous
but
lines
listen, it is what
used.
it is, man.
Yeah, it is what it is. And like, I wish whoever comes into that post the best of luck. I mean, I've got my suspicions. I think it's either going to be out of Abdi, who took the team that time. I think they won 10-0, or Quincy, who's basically playing number two for Billy. Either that or it's going to be someone left field like Maz from, or formerly from RB. But I even thought it might have been you, mate. But you know, if you're throwing your name out there, you're not putting your
Nah,
name in the ring.
nah. Listen, I'm too volatile because if me and the chairman, like, if our goals don't align, there's no way I can work there. There's no way. It doesn't matter what the club is. So
Yeah.
listen, I play to win. I play to develop, and ultimately, if my heart's not in something, I'll never do it. Listen, this is one of those occasions where I didn't even get the phone call. So it's like, yeah, I weren't even in a discussion for that. But if I'm honest, I wouldn't want to be. I wouldn't want to be in that discussion. Obviously, my sights are set on slightly different things. I'm traveling the world this year with my football, so I'm enjoying myself, man.
Plus, I think you're still not allowed in East London, are you? You know what I mean? You're still banned. So,
Listen, I need to go and get my pass validated, man, and ain't no one trying to validate it for me. So yeah, man, I don't think I can really touch East London like that just yet, man. It's techie for me, isn't it?
yeah, it's techie for you, brother. It's techie for you for sure. Um, Moving swiftly on, let's talk about some more positive news in the community of grassroots and non-league football. So let's talk about AFC Croydon Athletic. Now, this is a subject that we've touched upon a while, like talking about ownership, and not only just
Yeah,
ownership. Sorry to address the elephant in the room, people that are watching, but black ownership, because we've often talked about this like privately and
there's
stuff like
none.
that. But
Yeah, there isn't any.
there isn't none, or very little, should I say, in
Mm.
itself. But it seems upon that this is changing now. Stormzy, Wilfred Zaha, and Danny Young, who's the head of player care at Crystal Palace, have now taken on AFC Croydon Athletic, who are, I believe, in step five, obviously based in South London, to
Yep.
own the club. And that is a big step, not only just for like the club itself, but just in terms of people going forward, because I've often said, you know, if there's not many black coaches, black managers, why don't we just go out and buy a club? Why doesn't Rio Ferdinand partner up with Marcus Rashford to own a club? And people have said their own things, but now it's like we're now putting our money where our mouths are. You know what I'm saying? So I think this is a positive step.
Oh, massive step. Listen, I think I attempted to broach the conversation with Andy Cole a while back about why him and Dwight had never bought a club, or you know try to spark a bit of enthusiasm to see some sort of ownership there from not just any black players, but the best ones, the top ones, you know, the ones with all the accolades and all the records, you know, and it's hard to hear some of the responses that you hear from some of these guys. But it's such a big deal to see a bit more, even if it is only one club, but it's
Mm-hmm.
one club at a time, it's one step at a time. But to see a bit more diversity at the boardroom level and
Mm-hmm.
at the ownership level, that's where we want to see diversity. But ultimately, listen, you also got to earn the right, and you've also got to be in the right position to buy a club and to actually do positive things like that. I don't think enough people from our community really think that way. I'm not going to go into why they don't think that way, but I think it's very obvious because I think a lot of these things are conditional, and you're kind of conditioned to think in a certain way. And if you can't listen, if you're so focused on surviving, you'll never find a time to figure out how to live. So it's a tough climate out there. So honestly, big move there from Wilfried Zaha and Stormzy, and for those two guys to put their name to that, I would say that club is going. They're aiming high for that club, very
Yeah,
high.
of course, of
Um,
course. You know how inspiring that
but
is as well. Like
huge.
two local guys from that area putting their money into the local community into
Yep.
football. That's something that's South London, as we know it, is a hotbed of talent anyway. But again,
Yeah.
Croydon in and around the area, two guys that are local, that are big names, putting their money in. That is like huge for that community. So
Massive.
that's going to have
Massive.
so many eyes on it and the right sort of eyes as well, potentially, to then grow that club into, well, it could go as far as where Wrexham are, do you know what I mean? Or even higher, do you know what I mean? Be the next
Even
hub there.
higher. I think even higher. Honestly, I think now the world is the oyster for that club. Hopefully, they bring the right people in to manage it and implement a good way of playing and an attractive way of playing that wants the best players and encourages development. And they're probably going to bring in an education program and try to get an academy running. All of those things that you kind of need, for a club to really be successful. I want to see those things now at AFC Croydon. I am going to definitely be following that. And I would say don't rule out my wanting to get involved in that at some point, because listen, anything that involves uplifting of my people, my community, but also the football culture in general, mate, I'm all for positivity. So whatever the project is, and anything that's got genuine legs on it and belief behind it, mate, it doesn't matter what the level is. I'd always want to play a part in it, even if it's as a consultant. But listen, I hope that they do well, man. I genuinely, I hope they do well. Big move, man. Yeah, that's big stuff. Really big stuff.
Yeah, it is indeed. Like, because you imagine like the amount of eyes that's going to have from the music entertainment world. Not only that, the football world that
From the football world
Zaha's still a
too.
part of. So, and
Well, we're
again, the
talking
amount
about global superstars. We're talking about
exactly
global
that.
superstars. It's unheard of, and also in their prime. They're not doing
Yes.
this when they're over the hill and their career's
Yeah.
done and dusted. They are very much in their prime. Wilf is for me still one of the best players produced from this country. Um, I love the fact that he realised England were wasting his time and he went and played for Ivory Coast. Good. I love that he done that. Stormzy right at the top of his game in music, international, worldwide. It's so big for the culture. I think it's massive for non-league football. I get the feeling they're not going to be in non-league football for that long.
Nah.
And this might
No.
even inspire other people to go and do the same thing.
That's the next point I was going to say, because again, not only that, it then adds a snowball effect. I hope where other like-minded individuals, maybe a Dave, for example, maybe
Yeah,
I don't know, do you know what I mean? Other individuals of influence of
yeah.
our community, of our culture, then think, you know what?
Well,
Why
well,
don't
there
we
are there
start
are
this
there
thing
are
now?
friendship groups like that. I think Dave is really good friends with Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and those guys are all from the same area, and they all grew up together. And I can see guys like that coming together and buying clubs. I can see them doing positive things like that. But it's all about risk and reward, isn't it? It's like these guys have come from nothing. They're still making themselves. They're still building their brand and making their money. So it's hard to buy something that can be a bottomless pit, so to speak, because you don't really make much money from football until you
Mm,
get to the upper end.
yeah.
So it's like I said, it's great to see. I hope now that it inspires other people just like them to go and do the same things.